Hello, everyone, and welcome again to this transmission from Vila Nova de Gaia. Warm greetings from Portugal. The hackathon is at full speed right now. As you know, some of the teams have already left the competition, but let me remind you some of the numbers to underline the importance of this event and how things are going for now. There were 113 participants in this hackathon. 11 teams are still in the competition, and there's a number that I feel it's very important to share with you. There were participants from 15 different countries. Let me also remind you that the final deadline is today at 11:59 p.m. By that time, everything has to be ready. You'll have to be ready also to pitch your project to the jury after that deadline. And let me also remind you that the winner will be announced on March 15 at 10 a.m. and the announcement will be made by the European Commissioner, Maria Gabriel. I have two speakers with me this afternoon. We'll get to them a little later. For now, let me share the words of Paddy. Cosgrave is an Irish entrepreneur. You probably know him. He's also the co-founder of the WebSummit, and he sent us a message to share with you this afternoon, and I invite you to hear his words now.
Hey guys, best of luck in the hackathon over the next 48 hours. I think Solve the Gap is fantastic. Youth participation in fact, right across all age groups is essential, but I think youth participation in our democratic processes is the lifeblood that helps. It's just fundamental to the future of democracies everywhere, not just in Europe. I hope you get to work on some fantastic new ideas, and I've no doubt over the next 48 hours you'll make some wonderful contributions, and I hope you're an inspiration to each other and an inspiration to everybody that's watching. So the very best of luck, and I hope to see you at WebSummit soon or somewhere else in the world. I think what you're doing can't be cheered on and applauded and congratulated enough. See you all soon. Bye.
The words that Paddy wanted to share with you is not the only one. We've got also a message to share with our participants from Sofia Alves. She's the head of the European Commission representation in Portugal, and I invite you now to also listen carefully to her words.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad that the Portuguese presidency and the Portuguese National Youth Council are giving young people the opportunity through the hackathon to think about digital tools that can boost your participation in the European democratic process. The EU has always been committed to youth policies. If you visit the European Youth Portal, you will find information and opportunities to learn, train, travel, and volunteer in the EU and abroad. As proof of the youth's commitment to youth, the budget of the Erasmus Plus program has almost doubled for the next 7 years, with an objective of being more inclusive. We have also strengthened programs such as the Youth Guarantee that helps young people to find their first job, and the European Solidarity Corps, and Discover EU, a journey through Europe for 18-year-olds. There will also be huge opportunities for young people to enhance their skills, education, and training within the Next Generation EU plan. This is a recovery plan for Europe that will help European countries to cope with the economic consequences and the current pandemic. Europe wants the new generations to be active players in its economic development, but we also need you to be part of the political debate. And that's why engagement, fostering young people's participation in civic and democratic life is at the heart of the European Youth Strategy. The European Commission in Portugal has been taking steps to involve young people in the European policies and to listen to their point of view. Every year, we organize a summer camp where about 50 young people can engage with European leaders over several days. We also organized last summer our first hackathon, and Report EU is an initiative that gives university students the opportunity to create press material on topics that have a European dimension and that are relevant and innovative. Finally, I want to mention the Conference on the Future of Europe. This is not a one-shot conference. In fact, it's a 2-year process that will engage citizens all over Europe in debates to ask for the European project. It will start on the 9th of May, and I encourage you to actively participate in this major process. Stay tuned by registering to our newsletter on our website or by following our Instagram profile. And I wish you a creative and inspiring hackathon. We will be part of the jury and we will be pleased to discover the ideas that will emerge from this process. Good luck to all of you.
Now, let me remind you again that this hackathon counts with the patronage of the European Commissioner Maria Gabriel and is organized by the National Youth Council and also the Ministry of Education of Portugal. We'll now go and listen to some of the speakers that we have here with us today. We've got two speakers. Unfortunately, Miss Romana Ibrahim, she's an entrepreneur and she was the winner of the Founder of the Year award by Women in Tech, but unfortunately, due to personal reasons, she can't be here with us this afternoon. But I'm here with João Paulo Rebelo, who is the Secretary of State of Youth and Sports. Thank you for being here. And also with João Pedro Videira, is the President of the National Youth Council. We've been together yesterday also in the opening session. So thanks again for being with us this afternoon. We'll have a quick conversation about several topics regarding things like technology, digital rights. So keep logged to listen to these two speakers. And I'll start with our Secretary of State of Youth and Sports. We talk a lot about technology and digital innovation and so on. But let me ask you, in your opinion, which kind of barriers and which kind of challenges these changes might represent, not only for society, but also, for example, for governments? Which kind of challenges this new technology era poses?
Okay. Thank you very much. Allow me, first of all, to greet everyone from Portugal. Of course, greet you, Francisco Ferreira, and a pleasure to be here with you. But also our brand new, I should say, brand new President of the Portuguese National Youth Council, João Pedro Videira. Always a pleasure. Regarding this matter, I should say that, of course, this pandemic situation that we are living, the COVID-19, accelerated lots of changes, lots of digital changes, lots of things regarding technology. And of course, we are now very used to this kind of format that we are here communicating with people all over Europe, and who knows, all over the world. But of course, this digital transformation is a strategic challenge, I shall say, to not only for Portugal, of course, but to all Europe. This impacts in our day-to-day life, in how we communicate, in how we work, in how we date. It's a challenge for how we gather, like the situation that we are now. Everyone we usually listen to that young people, they are digital natives, and of course it's true. But in the perspective, in my perspective, in the perspective of our government, we need to make sure that they not only are digital natives, but they are also digital citizens. Okay, so they must have equal access to opportunities, to rights when it comes to digitalization and digital participation. It's of course a matter for us. Barriers, of course, there are. We must and this pandemic situation that we are living again. For instance, in this last month in Portugal, the schools closed, so everyone all students were studying from their houses, and so we must make sure that everybody has equal access to internet, the internet access, the hardware, and simply this question to have a silent room for their home. It's very important, of course. And we must include everyone. We must fight against the possibility that we have two two worlds and two speeds. Okay, those who can access easily, those who are included, and those who are not included. I think it's always the same matter. We must build our society with everyone, and in thinking in young people, I think it's an idea that it's not a wrong idea. This idea that the young people are digital natives, but we must make efforts to include everyone.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. We'll get to that a little later. And João Pedro, I would like to ask you about this matter. Of course, these barriers the Secretary of State mentioned, they're obvious. And I would like to ask you if you feel, because you also have a past of participation in the academical area and so on, do you feel that the youth are now, their main challenge right now is mostly related to technology? How are they dealing with this new challenge?
Thank you, Francisco, and thank you, Mr. João Paulo Rebelo, our Secretary of State. And thank you everyone who is watching us from home. And first of all, I think from my past, the technology it's a whole new world that we have in nowadays, and the access to them, to the technology, to the internet, it's the only barrier that we have now. So my people, young people, needs from now till to the future, needs to have the access and you have the opportunities to have the access to the internet, to the technology, everywhere where they are. So if they are, for example, like in Portugal, for example, in Bragança, they need to have access to the remote access to the technology and to the internet. And I think the internet is it's now the key for the future and the connection between all of us. And for example, we are discussing right now in Europe the 5G, and I think it's a technology that we need to improve and we need to implement right now in Portugal, because we are, how can I say, we are losing some opportunities every day when we are not using this technology. And but so to getting to the point, yes, there are some barriers with the technology, the access to the technology and to the means that use technology. It's one of the most big barriers that we have. But on the other side, it's pretty mainstream that we have, when we have access to the internet and to these means, we can do whatever we want. Also bad things, that it's not good. But we need to improve our rights, and we need to protect ourselves in this way to make the world a better place.
I'll get back to you, because you also mentioned a few points that I find interesting and that we'll approach later. I'll now get back to our Secretary of State of Youth and Sports. I'd like to ask you, you mentioned the pandemic context, and also nowadays we talk about the skills that people need to deal with the new technology and so on. I would like to ask you, how can the country be more prepared so the younger generations are more skilled and are skillful enough to access these new technologies in terms of digital skills? Is that also a key point for you?
Yes, of course. But first of all, let me say that I think that transition to the technology and online participation is, on one hand, about technical skills, as you said, but it's not only. It's very important to be able to use with confidence, of course, all the tools that are nowadays available. But I think actually this is maybe the easier part because as I also said, the young people are digital natives, but they must be digital citizens in order to participate online as users, as developers, as citizens. It is fundamental to acquire a set of specific skills. And I should mention the soft skills also, because first of all, we need to have a critical thinking. It's actually vital. You have to have a personality, and your mindset must be critical, because nowadays we have lots and lots of information, but we must know how to process it, how to filter it, yes, because there's lots of information available.
You're thinking, for example, fake news and all that.
Of course, fake news. So the soft skills are still very important. Not only the technical skills, how to deal with technology, how to interact with the technology. Of course, we must know, we must have the skills for that. But we must not forget what comes before, I shall say. And remember, Paddy told us in his message also, youth participation is fundamental, and we must not forget that. That's why in our public policies in Portugal for youth, this participation is a important keyword, I shall say, and a key context for all our policies. Because without that, you are not a full citizen, I shall say.
João, Pedro, it's interesting because you mentioned before that internet, of course, out of all the great things that allows us to do, for example, being here today, even though we are in a pandemic context and people can still follow this conference, but you mentioned the bad things, and it's interesting that the Secretary of State mentioned, for example, the soft skills that are needed, the confidence that people have to have in what they see online and so on, and be able to distinguish between what's good or not, or what's correct and what is not correct. Do you feel that the younger generations in Portugal are already acquiring these soft skills, or there is still space for improvement?
Of course, there are still space for improvements, but the young generations are now capable to distinguish between the right and wrong, the correct and the incorrect. But getting to the point, and I agree with this term of the soft skills. It's fundamental to our society that we have citizens capable to improve their themselves and do the transition to the technology and to the in-tech life. I think we need to have the skill. I think this might be one of the main skills that we need to learn how to learn. And we need to improve in schools, at home, wherever people are. But we need to improve the access to this information. And I mean, with this, we need to be able to be constantly improve ourselves and be able to learn wherever we are. This might allow us to filter some information, to be able to distinguish between what is a real news and what is a fake news, and this allows to keep us the data and the date in peace with technology. We need to improve our rights, and the European Union needs to improve and needs to be more quick to do and to improve the laws that protect the citizens. And we are doing our job together with the Ministry of the Education, with our Secretary of State. We are doing our job, producing and put online this hackathon and this event to stimulate young people to innovate and bring innovation to the democracy.
I think, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Francisco, but the technical skills are very important, of course, but these soft skills, the real personal contacts that you get in a dinner, at a party, the context that you can really know people, know what they think about behind the screen. Yeah, that's those skills, those soft skills, as we say, are very, 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 very important, and take us those experience. They truly take us closer and create the human bonds that we need to continue and to live our life in a full sense.
You mentioned the transition earlier. It may sound easy because some people apparently think you have to snap your fingers and everything's ready. It's not. I ask you if it's one of the main challenges right now, and how hard do you feel it is, this transition and this whole scenario right now, because we've been talking about digital transition and so on, but it's not as easy as it may sound, in your opinion.
No, it's not that easy. My personal idea is technology, the digital transition is very important, but there's world behind that. Okay, it's everything doesn't end here in this topic. We must not forget all the different experience that are not possible in the digital world, if you want to. Okay, so of course there's also a discussion about the rights that must be guaranteed in this new world. Let's say this way, and that's the discussion about not being connected as a right. It's we are all talking about that already, and nowadays, and we of course we must think about that also.
Let me just ask you, João Pedro, because we talked about that, for example, yesterday, about how technology and the digital means can be a way of approaching people. And for example, taking a look at this hackathon, for example, the main goal is to develop a digital solution so you can approach the people, democracy, and participation within the European Union framework. Do you think really these technological means are also a way for people, and especially younger generations, to participate more in the democratic process?
Of course, yes. Because if we look to the data from all over the Europe, the younger generation are quite distant from the formal participation. We developed a study last week. We published a study last week. Due to the election of our head of state, our president, and this study reveals that 50% of young people on this election stays at home. So there are many reasons for that. We cannot figure it out all of them, but due to the related to this, we compare our numbers with other countries from Europe and from all over the world. And if we have the possibility to approach from different ways the participation of the civil society. I think we have, if we make it easier, the participation using the technology. Also, of course, we need to make it secure, and we need to make it good for us.
Mm-hmm.
But if we were able to do it, I think everyone wins with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a win-win
situation.
Yeah.
Secretary of State, you mentioned before several times actually the digital rights. There was a study in 2012, a global survey that shows that 83% of the people strongly agree that the access to internet is a basic human right. I would like to ask you, in your opinion, what may emerge in the next few years in terms of digital rights?
First of all, I strongly believe that workers' rights shall be reaffirmed in the context of this digital transition. We need to create a framework that works for people first. People is the most important thing that we have in the world. It's us, people.
We don't have economy without people.
Yes, we don't have economy without people, of course. And as I mentioned before, there's a lot of discussion around the topic of the right to disconnect. But for me, I think it's only the tip of the iceberg, okay? Because young people are already feeling this change. They have, they are the first to experience working in the so-called gig economy and in a global labor market. We need to look at what we have achieved along a century and a half of the fight of workers' rights. Look at people's well-being and affirm those rights in this new century. It's essential. Of course, we can talk about new rights, but I want to make sure that let's call the classic rights are still on topic. Limited hours of work, I don't know if 40, maybe 32, social security for people who are unemployed, for the elderly, of course, for those who cannot work in this new digital world is fundamental, because the right to vote, and João Pedro was talking about the young people that didn't vote in this the last election of our president. Lots of people were talking about electronic vote. Also, it's important to talk about that, of course, but we need to think about how to implement it, and how again. There are people who is not going to be excluded. Okay, again, the inclusion word as a key word also, and of course I believe there are in the next years we are going to talk about it very much, of course. But new rights. My idea is. New rights, okay, we must talk about that, the right to be disconnected, but also think about we are people, we are women, and we must don't forget, as before we are talking about soft skills, we must not forget that we are here to enjoy our lives. And so nowadays with the smartphones, you must be always online, always connected, always at service almost, and we must talk about that. How many hours are we going to work per week? What are the rights that we are going to assure for mainly young people, of course, that they are now entering in this in the labor world, in the labor market. So that's it.
Let me just ask you before moving to João Pedro, you mentioned the right to disconnect. What about the right to connect? I ask you because, for example, in Finland in 2015, I would say, there was a law that, not a law, but a recommendation from the government that everyone should have access to internet at least 100 megabits per second. Let me ask you your opinion on such a subject, and because you mentioned the digital rights, not only the classic rights, but you mentioned also the access to the internet. Is that also a basic right that you think will be on the agenda for sure in the next few years?
Yeah, of course it is, but we were talking about that before when we were talking about the barriers that we have to the access. Of course, it's a right. Also, of course, we must assure and well, in Portugal, in the last years, we've done a lot regarding to that. I think everyone here in our country recognize that the investment that we made in the last years, and when I'm talking about the last year, I'm not campaigning about the government because I'm talking about the last decade. Okay, we do have the infrastructures in our country. We are kind of ready to this pandemic situation. If we didn't have that infrastructure, that digital infrastructure in our country, probably we have more and more problems of these students that now are in their houses, having school by the digital, by internet, and of course it's the right to disconnect, but of course the right to be connected. Of course,
I'd like to ask you, João, because as the Secretary of State said before, the pandemic context in a way accelerated all the process. I would like to ask you, for example, in terms of digital rights for younger generations, do you also feel younger generations think access to internet and digital means is a human right in a way, but also the need for the right to disconnect, privacy, and so on?
Yeah, for sure. And it's curious because I think it was in an activity that we developed in 2018, the national youth encounter. I think that this is the right word. We made an evaluation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And this right to this point in concrete, the right to have access to the internet was one of the most popular rights that we have ausculted the younger generation, and this was one of the recommendations. And I think in a few years this will be a point that needs to be in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but also the right and transition, making the transition to on the other hand, of course, the right to privacy. We need to protect our data, our personal data. And we have everything. I think we have our life in our smartphone right now. So if someone with bad intentions breaks our firewalls, our security, this might be a big challenge. We were informed, and there was in the news last year a big scandal from Facebook, for example, that someone has access to all the data, 16 million of people, personal data of that people were revealed. And this is a point that we need to improve as fast as we can. So we need to make sure we have the right to our privacy, also the right to disconnect. And this is because we have recent studies that reveals especially in younger generations, mostly in the civil society, with working from home, people are getting stressed. People are the risks of burnout. It's increasing every single day. So we need to have the right to disconnect. This right, for example, that Mr. João Paulo Rebelo mentioned. For example, the time to work, a timetable to work, a respectable timetable to work. We need to have this type of measures and this type of rights in our days, and we need to improve them. And also we need to have a right, and this is a good thing for all over the countries, for all the countries. It's the right to have a remote job, if of course the type of the job allows it. For example, I'm able to work from home. So if I'm, for example, in the middle of Spain or in the middle of France, I can be work for Portugal, for a company that the headquarters are in Portugal. So this type of
essential the proper access to internet, of course. As we were talking before, I think pandemic situation also brought this idea that people are talking about maybe it's not the right way everyone to live in cities, and we can live on the countryside also, but of course you have to have this right, this basic right, that you have to have a proper access to the internet, of course. And it's interesting to think, for instance, in Portugal, that we have this discussion about living on cities next to the ocean or in the countryside of our country. Besides our country, we have only 200 kilometers from coast to the border with Spain. But of course, every Portuguese recognize that our differences in living in the countryside or in the cities. But proper access to internet is a basic right, of course.
Time flies, and I washed my hands before.
Okay,
and. I've got some cards for you, because we'll have now a very quick challenge for both of you. Quick yes or no questions, and you're free, of course, to change to decide which one you'll present to the public. And also, if you
let me guarantee that I'm saying no and not on, because if it's on.
We've got one yes and one no. Yeah. And
yes and no. Okay.
If you want to give a very brief explanation of 10 seconds why you chose yes or no, I would be glad if you did so. And so the first question will be: digital transformation can boost democracy, transparency, and accountability.
Yeah, I shall say yes, but could be yes or no. It's,
it's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one, because we must have we must be responsible to guarantee that happens. But yes.
You're going with yes.
Fundamentally, yes. I'm a progressist. I'm a progressive man. So
Okay, so you're confident in it. So this digital transformation / boom is somehow responsible for the rise of fake news.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. There's no doubt on that.
I think no.
You think no? Oh, okay. So I'll start with you.
No, I think no, because I'll still with this one. I think no, because people are responsible to spread the fake news and to produce the fake news. Not the internet produced. It's not the internet that produced the fake news. Internet, it's a way, it's a mean that facilitates the spreading of this fake news, but are not responsible for this fake news.
I understand the argumentation, the arguments of João Pedro. Yes, I understand that. The idea is to 20 years ago, 200 years ago, people were lying about things, were making fake news, okay? But the boost, as you said, clearly comes from the internet. Yeah. But I agree with you. Of course, it's not internet. They're not, but they are boosting the.
Maybe
because
this
a few years ago you were saying about imagine I was talking to you in the cafe about something, but it didn't reach millions of people.
Yeah, such a big audience.
It's like, I think maybe this easier access and this boom, like you said, Francisco,
made it easier for
make it easier for these people that with bad intentions, of course. It cannot be another way.
Yeah, because and then there are people
with bad
making money
with this fake news.
Yeah, that's true.
And but as I was saying, just to complete, I think it's the easy access to this means that I don't know how, but somehow stimulates people to their bad side of their creativity, and maybe some people do it just to be joking and just for fun, yeah. And but other ones maybe not really. And not really, and we need to be careful with this.
Last one. This one's tough. Electronic voting in 2030 might be possible in Portugal.
I'm going for yes.
You're going for yes?
Yeah. With a big hope, big hope, yes.
It's a big challenge, isn't it?
It's a big challenge, yes, it is. But we have good practices on that in the world, and when I say we, it's not we, the government, it's I think we, the people, we are studying everywhere this kind of this transition also, and nowadays when we are talking about 230, we are talking about 9 years, and 9 years there's a lot of evolution in 9 years. I strongly believe that, yes.
Let's see. Now this is, of course, we'll be maybe together in 2030 and we can talk a little about that. So thank you very much. I think we still have a few seconds or a few minutes. I'm not sure if you want to make any other brief considerations about these topics, or
this last conclusion. This last topic, I do think it's important, the electronic vote, and for maintaining the democratic regime that we live, it's we must do everything we can to make people participate. But I also want to say that as citizens, we should make some efforts and some sacrificing. Also some sacrifice, yes, to maintain the democratic regime. Okay, so in one hand, yes, let's do everything that we can to give more access and more facilitated access to everyone, but in other hand, we must understand the importance of our responsibility, individual responsibility to do something for it. And well, this can be used also in the fake news issue, in the pandemic issue also. So let's do everything to facilitate, but let's not create a mindset for everyone. Okay, there are things that we must understand. I'm Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, as you said, and in sports this message is very clearly okay, to to get results, you must sacrifice, you must have the strength, the power, the focus,
the mindset,
and I think it's a good message for everything more or less in life. Okay.
Any quick conclusion?
Just to agree with what our Secretary of State just said right now, but I think on this point of the electronic vote, I think we need to, yes, we need to facilitate, we need to improve our means to do it and to implement it. But also we need to, a fundamental part, it's we need to stimulate this participation and informed participation. So people need to be informed when they are participating in some point, in some election, in something. I think for example, the education it's the key to enable this access and to this stimulation that people needs to get in touch with, to bring our democracy to a new days, but brand new days, and not with new days I mean good days and not bad days, because we need to see ourselves in our regime, and I think this is not the perfect regime, but it's the best one that we have ever experimented, and we need to improve it. And I think it's only with the informed participation we can reach it. So I think that's my point.
Yeah, it's very comfortable to have the idea that in this couch in my home I can vote. Okay, it's comfortable. I can spend the weekend I can go to the mountains or to the beach and for vacations but the idea of for instance, I have children, and in the election day I always bring them with me, okay? Because I think it's important if I have to step out of my couch and to go to some place to vote, I think it's not asking too much for our future. That's the game is about that, isn't it? To choose what we think best for our future. So, okay, electronic vote. I'm in favor, and I answered that yes. I hope that in 2030 it's possible. But on the other hand, we must give value to our efforts to sustain the democratic regime. I study marketing, and the idea that if it's for free, you don't give the right value for something that people are giving. Yeah, votes are for free, but we must understand the real value of the vote, of our participation. It's fundamental to also to fight against these speeches about some radicals that unfortunately we are seeing facing and not only in Europe but a little bit all over the world.
Thank you very much, both of you. Time's up, and I would like to thank you, João Paulo Rebelo, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, and also to João Pedro Videira, is the President of the National Youth Council. Thank you for being here, and also thank you for watching this webinar. I hope you keep up the good work and have fun.